So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us here today for FIT's 15th Annual Sustainable Business and Design Conference, Changemakers in Action. My name is Mitchell Henderson, and I am a recent alum from FIT, where I studied international trade and marketing and fashion design with minors in ethics and sustainability and international politics. And today I am joined with the Zero Waste Trailblazer, Lauren Singer. So, thank you for being here today, Lauren.
Thanks for having me.
So for those who may be unfamiliar with yourself, can you give a brief description of who you are and what you do?
Sure. I am Lauren Singer. I'm founder of the Zero Waste blog Trash is for Tossers, which is all about showing that living a zero waste lifestyle or just reducing your waste can be simple, cost effective, and fun. I'm also CEO and founder of Package Free. We're a zero waste lifestyle shop on a mission to make the world less trashy.
Thank you. It sounds like sustainability is definitely a part of your ethos. And so with that, sustainability can often be interpreted very broadly. Can you talk a little bit about what sustainability means to you and how you interpret the word?
So my background is in environmental science, and looking at environmental science, you can get really overwhelmed. It seems like there are a million forces controlling everything that happens in the world. And so in 2012, I decided to take a step back and ask myself, what is the aspect, or what are the aspects of my day-to-day life and my input or contribution to global warming, climate change, and sustainability that I can have? And I realized that through my everyday actions, whether it's using or not using a plastic bag, choosing to compost, or choosing to eat one thing over another, I create a certain type of impact. And so for me, sustainability is very much focused on myself and my individual actions and the things that I can do or cannot do to decide what the future looks like. So I decided to live a zero waste lifestyle in 2012 to really find ways to have my day-to-day life and my day-to-day actions align with my long-term values for sustainability.
Awesome. So you mentioned living a zero waste lifestyle. Can you describe what living a zero waste lifestyle is and really how you started on that journey?
Sure. So zero waste is defined many different ways by many different people, but for me, I look at everything when it comes to zero waste from an individual perspective. So as a single person, what I am not sending to landfill. So for me, zero waste means not sending anything to landfill, not putting anything on the ground and walking away, just not making any trash. But I do include recycling and composting as diversions from landfill, even though recycling is not the answer. It's a tool. So that's how I look at it.
And then what would you say are some of the biggest challenges with maintaining a zero waste lifestyle in your own personal life or in other business endeavors as well?
I think, when I started reducing my waste, I started small. First, I started with plastic. So what are the ways that I could reduce plastic in my everyday life? I think something that happens when people hear the phrase zero waste is they think, oh my gosh, no, the average American makes like 4.5 pounds of trash per person per day. How could I possibly eliminate my trash? This is impossible. But because I started off small with simple changes that collectively added up and resulted in reducing the majority of my waste, it felt really easy. So I think the biggest challenge for most people is getting over that preconception that this is possible or not possible, and just starting and taking those little steps and doing one thing, incorporating it into your routine, and then moving on to the next. I'm a big believer that every positive change is positive when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to reducing your waste. So the biggest recommendation for anyone, feeling stuck on starting or wanting to take action, but not knowing where to start, just do something, because any change makes a difference.
Yeah, it can sometimes feel overwhelming when you look at, all the trash that's being produced by every person every day across the world. And then for you, what would you say was the hardest aspect of that transition to zero waste? Because I know a lot of people use plastics at the grocery store or food packaging, and sometimes, how do you work your way around things like that?
I feel really lucky to live in New York City and have access to so many different resources and tools that enable reducing your waste. So before I started living this lifestyle, I had no idea that composting was a thing. We weren't even taught about composting in environmental science, which is kind of crazy. We were taught about, how food biodegrades and the natural process of breaking things down, but never the individual aspects of sustainability. So learning about composting and connecting with Grow NYC and finding out that there were bulk food shops, was huge for me. And I realized that I actually had access to a lot of these things that people thought were difficult, but taking steps to do things like compost, taking steps to shop completely secondhand, those were, I try not to look at them as challenges, because for me, I looked at reducing my waste and living more sustainably as something that I had to do if I didn't want to be an absolute hypocrite, right? My focus of my entire life was environmental science, was sustainability. I spent the last 2 years of college protesting against the oil and gas industry, advocating for a plastic-free future. But every single day in my life, I was making consumption choices that were subsidizing that industry and the industries that I was actively opposed to. So things might have taken a little bit of effort and research, or been trial and error, but I don't look at them as challenges. I think if it was so easy and so obvious, everyone would do it. And so part of what I'm hoping to do with Trash is for Tossers and with Package Free is make these simple changes more accessible, more affordable, more convenient, so we could all have an easier time creating a more sustainable future.
And so then you launched Package Free in 2017, I believe.
Yeah.
And so can you talk a little bit about your journey leading up to opening your own zero waste store?
Sure. So I graduated college in 2013. I was actually working for the government. And one of the reasons I started working for the government was because I wanted to find ways to create large scale positive environmental change. Oftentimes people say, I'm just one person, what can I do? And I looked at policy as this amazing catalyst for creating large scale change. And I thought that it would be quickly, but once I started getting into policy and understanding the bureaucracy and the roadblocks, I got really frustrated really quickly and realized that business is this incredible opportunity to make things happen quickly and scale them effectively, so you can actually implement large scale change relatively quickly, efficiently, and with a million times less roadblocks than you get from a government perspective. So I started my first company actually as a result of my blog Trash is for Tossers, which was called the Simply Co. It still exists. It's a 3-ingredient laundry detergent powder. That's an alternative to plastic packaged or synthetically made laundry detergents. And from there, I started getting more into the consumer space and realized that there were a lot of really amazing consumer product brands that were making sustainable products that were plastic free and enabled a lower waste lifestyle, but they were having a hard time growing and scaling. They were having a hard time finding their customer, or they were just really niche. And that's really where the idea of Package Free came from. It was a way to aggregate brands like my own, the Simply Co, and these amazing other brands that I was using in my everyday life, living a lower waste lifestyle, into one place, and then using my follower base from Trash is for Tossers as that stream of customers that these brands needed to grow and scale. So it was great for the brands, it was great for customers because they were having more convenient access to products. And that's really how Package Free was born. It was supposed to be a 3-month pop-up shop in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and it scaled to now we're about to have our 4-year birthday. So I never would have thought that that Package Free would have turned into the business that it is. We've raised millions of dollars. We've, helped to divert hundreds of millions of pieces of trash from landfills to the products that we sell. So I think going back to the preconception that people have that I'm just one person, I can't do much, or what difference can I make, or where do I start? It's really just starting. And I think if you have a goal, for me, it's helping to create larger scale positive environmental change. You'll find your way there. So it's just start and change can happen.
So then what does it look like, like owning a sustainable business. I mean, can you talk about some of the challenges that you faced during the process of, opening and growing your store?
Sure. Um, Running a business is a lot of work. Running a startup is a lot of work. Running a scaling business is a huge amount of work. And definitely running a business that has e-com and 2 physical retail stores through a pandemic has been, incredibly challenging. And I've been, learning faster than I've ever learned in my entire life. I've been making mistakes more frequently than I've ever made them in my life. And I've been figuring out solutions faster than I ever have in my entire life. My background isn't in business. Again, I studied environmental science and politics. And so the learning curve over the past 4 years has been incredibly steep, but we have a team now of over 50 people here in Brooklyn, New York. We have a huge warehouse and now our team that runs the e-com side is working remotely, but it's been amazing to bring people together under the same mission of helping to create a more sustainable future. And startups are living, breathing organisms that grow and change. And I think I've just learned how to navigate that, and I'm still learning every single day. But I'm so proud of what we've accomplished, and really we measure our success by the amount of trash that we help to divert from landfills, the amount of education we provide to our customers, and how we help the brands that we sell grow and scale and iterate and improve their products. So all in all, it's been an amazing journey. It's 4 years that feels like 40, but also 4 days, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, that does sound like a awesome journey, obviously full of ups and downs, as any good story is going to have. People, when they talk about sustainability and business, they focus on the 3 Ps: people, planet, and profit. So you touched on it a little bit already, but can you talk about how Package Free and your blog, Trash is for Tossers, lives up to, its mission and its principles in regards to those 3 areas?
Sure. So for me, at Package Free, we're obviously environmentalist founded and environmentalist run. Everyone that's on our team in one way or another has a passion for creating a more sustainable future. And so all of the decisions that we make always consider sustainability. It's at the foundation and core of what we do. So planet has always been number one. And then people is right next to planet, right? Environmentalism is intersectional. There is not equality when it comes to climate change. There are populations that are much more severely impacted by climate change than others. So by helping to create more sustainable change, helping to mitigate climate change, we're helping to create more of an equitable and just future. And when it comes to profit, it's been really amazing to connect the dots between sustainability from an environmental perspective and sustainability from a business perspective, right? We're selling products, right? And we're selling products that some of them you tell people only buy this once and it's a replacement for something that you'll never have to buy again. So you're reducing waste, you're reducing the frequency of purchases that you have to make. But we also have products that are alternatives to the products that people are buying daily and having to replenish frequently. Products like toothbrushes, like toothpaste, shampoo, and conditioner. So we're providing better options and helping to make them more price competitive as we work with these brands to grow them and scale them. So as Package Free grows as a business, the more business we send to these third-party brands, the more they scale, the more of a certain product they can make, and the lower the price per unit of what they're producing. So we're helping to make these products more accessible as we help to grow and scale these businesses. We're helping to achieve better margins. And oftentimes people think small business is the most sustainable, but when it comes to economies of scale, growing a business, growing the frequency of production, the volume of production is a great way to help to support supply chains that might have been small before, but can scale sustainably and efficiently, and also do so by relieving the upfront cost to the customer. So I'm a huge fan of economies of scale, especially when it comes to sustainable products. My dream is that no matter where you live or how much money you will have the ability to walk into a store that's convenient to you and find products that are safe for our bodies, our homes, and the environment, but also price point accessible. So that's where I hope we're headed as a business.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys are heading there currently. Speaking of expanding and economies of scale, Package Free has just expanded to 9 stores in Nordstrom's, as well as their online platform, which is very exciting. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about your decision to partner with the brand?
Yeah, first of all, Nordstrom is just doing an incredible job, helping to provide more of an audience to so many small brands that are growing and scaling right now. So when we started the conversation on doing the pop-in, it was, one, just super exciting, but two, an amazing opportunity for us to not just provide exposure to the package-free products that we manufacture, but all of the brands that we sell. So the brands that we included in the partnership now have access to a customer base that we weren't providing them at package-free, and maybe they weren't getting on their own as a brand. So it's really helped to scale their exposure, which is amazing. And Nordstrom internally has some really incredible goals of, reducing carbon emissions, donating to sustainable charities, to helping to mitigate clothing and textile waste, and helping with beauty product recycling, beauty product packaging recycling internally. So it was really awesome to partner with them. They worked with us to actually try out a new form of shipping so that we can align with our zero waste shipping standards at Package Free. So we are shipping all of the D2C e-com orders from our warehouse in Industry City. And all of those products are shipped to us 100% plastic free, and then shipped to our customer free of any plastic packaging, any plastic tape, and any plastic dunnage. So it was a great and amazing opportunity for us, and a great opportunity for Nordstrom. And also through this partnership, we made the decision to not do branded items or tote bags as they typically do with their pop-in partners, and take that money and donate it to one of my favorite local nonprofits, which is Grow NYC, which helps to provide farmers markets, the Zero Waste Schools program, textile recycling, farms throughout the city. They're incredible. Their funding was severely cut through 2020 and budget cuts that we saw throughout the city. So it was amazing to be able to support them. And that's one of my favorite byproducts of the whole partnership.
Amazing. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are going to work very well together. So exciting news there. You also have a website and a blog space called Trashes for Tossers. So what is your goal when people go and visit and interact with the website? What are you hoping that people gain?
Such a good question. I guess a lot of things, but also not much. For some people, it might be the first time that they learn about the fact that reducing your waste is possible, or that this lifestyle of consumerism that is shoved down our throats as Americans is not the only way that there is to live, that we actually have options to change the products that we see right in front of our face. And of course, doing so right now, because they're not convenient everywhere, is a privilege. But if you do have the access to choose where your products come from, there are choices, and there are choices that are more sustainable and that can actually save you money and that can actually enhance your life. And that's what I experienced firsthand over the past 10 years or so, reducing my waste, is how much simpler my life got, how much money I've saved, how much less I need to consume to be happy. And so I wanted to provide a guide on Trashes for Tossers of just simple steps that I took in my everyday life that worked for me. So if somebody does make the decision of like, I want to reduce my waste a little bit, or I want to go all the way, all of the research that I had to do isn't a barrier to entry for people. So it's right there for them. It's easy, it's straightforward, it's years of experience and trial and error and testing. And the content is evergreen because there's so many people that haven't even heard about zero waste or haven't even started reducing their waste. And so I want it to be a platform where people can come with, curiosity or a question mark, or as an experienced person reducing their waste, but still find something that is interesting, new, or, tangible for their lives.
Yeah, no, I think it's great that you're offering advice and some of your own personal experiences, sharing your stories about, your zero waste journey and stuff like that. One problem within the fashion industry as of recently in regards to sustainability has been, greenwashing. I know a lot of my friends and I have been looking into greenwashing and looking into, CSR reports from other brands. But greenwashing has really become an issue in recent years with brands trying to trick their consumers into thinking that they're more sustainable or ethical than they truly are through advertising or marketing strategies. Do you have any personal tools for recognizing greenwashing and how to avoid it?
It's it's such a complicated question, and the reason that it's complicated is because I never want to fault a brand for trying. And so many people, if you actually look at the resumes of so many people that are in sustainability roles within companies, actually aren't educated in environmental science, product and supply chain, and that could be one of the reasons that a brand thinks that they're doing or making a really great decision, but they don't have people that are deeply experienced in system science or have the awareness to understand the complexities in supply chain. And so I always want to just start by like recognizing, okay, who's the person that's making these decisions? What are the decisions that these companies are actually making? And even if it's small or like a little bit wrong, is it a step in the right direction? And I've seen this from major brands that are saying things that are completely misleading, but I have to check myself and catch myself and say, okay, but it's a step in the right direction. And how can I build and foster relationships with these brands to tell them, like, this is amazing that you're doing X, but did you know by saying this, it's actually a little bit misleading, and these are the steps that you could take to improve over time. But I like to remember that a small step, even if marketed in a slightly misleading way, is a step in the right direction for a brand. Especially think of a brand like H&M or Zara or Mango, right? Just announced their sustainability initiatives. Mango's going to make clothes whether I like it or not. I'm not a Mango customer, but there are tons of Mango customers. The same with H&M, the same with Zara. But when Mango or these fast fashion retailers make a decision to use organic textiles as opposed to a synthetic, that's a huge impact. I remember I once went to a conference, and I think it was Bill Clinton's nutritionist was there, and he helped to create the Waldorf chicken salad for McDonald's like healthy menu. And just by making this one salad, McDonald's became the largest purchaser of apples in the world. So when a brand that has such scale makes these little tiny decisions like a menu item or a material choice or a thread choice or a factory choice, or an emissions decision, the ripple effect is huge. So I never want to try to call out a brand for trying. I instead try to look at ways that I can build relationships and foster relationships that we can partner to work together in the future to make these choices even better. And to answer your question of like, have I experienced this? Every day. Like I get emails every single day from brands being like, either promote my product or like, tell me about this product, or, we made the most sustainable, zero waste, blah, 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 blah. Most of it's complete bullshit, frankly. Like it's none of it when I start looking into the product, getting the facts, not true. However, instead of being like, I won't work with you, this is terrible, I try to build an opportunity where I can step in and help them grow and develop, especially if these brands have a big budget. So greenwashing is everywhere, but the desire to do good and have a more positive impact is truly there for so many of these brands, and they deeply care about it. I think they just need a little bit of guidance. And so that's why I think, especially when it comes to fashion, people like you who are learning about the systems science behind sustainability in fashion, it's the perfect opportunity to inject yourself into these conversations, build relationships, and help to steer them in the right direction, because they need help, obviously, because what so many of these brands, be it fashion, be it consumer product, be it tech, what they think they're doing isn't perfect, but it's something and it can be better. And we need to befriend them as opposed to, push them away.
Yeah, definitely the transfer from current market systems into something a little bit more sustainable is going to take a little bit of time for that transition to happen. So I
And it'll be
appreciate your insight
clunky.
on that.
It'll be clunky, it'll be wrong. Everybody's going to make mistakes, but change is never perfect and it's never overnight and it's never as easy as we think it's going to be because like as I was saying before, if change was so simple or doing these things was so easy and so obvious, everybody would have done it. Especially because there is monetary value in the branding around a sustainable product or a sustainable brand. And the more we support these decisions, the more brands are making these decisions and these choices to be more sustainable because they know it'll help them, generate revenue. So we need to just recognize that this is more and more going to be the norm, especially as climate change is realized more and more. And I can't fault a brand for trying. I can only help to support them as they continue to try, maybe make mistakes and offer my insight.
Mm. Well, speaking of trying, the past year has been pretty trying for a lot of people around the global community. So can you maybe give a little bit of insight about how COVID-19 impacted your zero waste journey? Like for example, your thoughts on PPE equipment or like for use in hospitals or like plastic used in takeout or any other examples that you might have in your experience with them.
So many things to say. You know, I like to zoom out and ask, why do I care about sustainability? Why is mitigating climate change important? And everyone has a different answer to that. For me, it's a mixture of a lot of things, but one of the major things is, supporting the human species, easing suffering that will come from climate change, and helping to support a transition into a future that will be tough if we continue producing, manufacturing, and emitting the way that we have been. So that is one of the reasons, right? It's supporting people, supporting humans, and making sure that we, as this incredible, creative, loving, interesting, dynamic species, can subsist. And PPE is something that is necessary to protect people. And so the waste generated from a year of PPE is, for me, worth it in the sense of we are taking steps to protect people, and the health and safety of people is one of the major drivers of why we're fighting against climate change, right? It's to protect ourselves. So I think a lot of things happened from a trash perspective as far as buying more products at home, PPE, but a lot of positive things happened as well in 2020, right? We were traveling less. There were fewer emissions from cars and airplanes. People learned to cook at home more, and we're reducing their use of single-use plastic from a takeout perspective or an everyday lunch perspective. People were learning about what trash actually looks and feels like because they were living with it in their house 24/7 for an entire year. So perceptions on waste and clutter definitely changed. But I think ultimately a year is going to be a blip when it comes to the effects of climate change, and really what we need is long-term sustainable solutions. And a year of PPE isn't going to make or break our future, but the decisions that we make, through the Biden administration, through large-scale business and agriculture, those will make the difference. So, I like to focus more on that as opposed to what we did as a society, as a culture, as a world to keep ourselves safe. But I think about too, imagine people think that 2020 was hard, right? Staying inside, wearing masks. Imagine what living through a day in a world where we're actively realizing the impacts of climate change will feel like. We think that 2020 was hard. We have no idea. So it really is now that we have to take steps to mitigate climate change, that we have to make radical policy decisions, and we have to make changes. Otherwise, 2020 will feel like the norm.
Right. Yeah. The sort of like the impending actions of the effects of climate change are very real, and can happen, in the near future if we don't take very progressive and radical action. So that's why I think it's great, all the work that you've been doing through Package Free, through Trashes for Tossers, pairing up with Nordstrom's, and, offering guides and solutions for, mitigating one's own personal responsibility in that fight. So I just have a couple more questions for you before we wrap up. Is there anything that you're working on right now, or what can we expect from you in the near future?
I'm really excited to be in Nordstrom. So, been focusing on that and how we can continue to expand that in the future. Again, our goal at Package Free is to start manufacturing products ourselves and, help to expand the brands we carry, but also create products that help people reduce waste daily and help to get them to a scale where they can have a presence in large scale retailers. And I really have a dream, like I mentioned, where, my grandma who lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico, can walk into the Base Exchange and buy a product that is safe for her body, her home, and the planet. Whereas right now she doesn't have access to products like that. And, her and millions of people across the country, billions of people across the planet don't have that right, don't have that access. And that is not fair. To me, that's a human rights issue. So I hope that we can have a voice and a hand in the much larger conversation that needs to happen around chemicals, access to sustainable products, packaging, plastic usage. And I really, really, really hope to see Biden act on what he said during the debates, which is he has a goal of ending fossil fuel subsidies, which would be one of the most incredible things we could do for the planet, one of the most amazing things we could do for climate change. Not only would it impact the oil and gas industry, but fashion. Think about how much fashion is petroleum-based materials. Think about how much we use from a consumer perspective is a plastic-based material. It would be one of the most radical, earth-shattering changes that we could make, but one of the best. So I hope to see that, and I hope to leverage Package Free and Trashes for Tossers and our community to make those types of radical policy decisions and that type of large scale CPG access from a sustainability perspective a reality.
Yeah, and for those who may be unfamiliar who are watching, fibers such as polyester and spandex are petroleum based. And when you think about, how much spandex is incorporated into our everyday wear, through our Spanx, through our jeans and our t-shirts. So yeah, there's a lot of petroleum based fibers around today. And then one last question here before we let you go. What advice can you give students who are looking to get involved within the sustainable business field?
I would first ask, what are your values and what do you care about? What is the impact that you're looking to make? I think you don't have to work for a sustainable company to help to create sustainable results. You can use your education, your knowledge, and your desire to make an impact to create one. And so I think no matter where you work or what you make or what your interests are, if you value creating a sustainable change, you can do so just about anywhere. For me, I tried so many different routes to create change and want to work in sustainability. And 10 years ago when I graduated, there weren't any options as far as sustainable businesses. Now there are tons that you could attach yourselves to, but they're small and they're growing. But there's also so many businesses that don't have a sustainability leader inside of them at their core, helping to make change from the inside. And that's an amazing opportunity as well, especially fashion, which is one of the biggest polluters that we have. So, the biggest advice that I have is just educate yourself, learn as much as you can, ask questions, be curious, befriend people who don't agree with you, learn from them. embody your values and realize that you are one person, you're just one person, but you can definitely 100% without any question make a positive impact.
Well, Lauren, thank you very much again. If you want to say whatever your Instagram handle is, where people can find you or reach out to you.
Sure. You can follow me at Trash is for Tossers on all platforms, and then you can follow Package Free at Package Free Shop.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you so much.